Welcome back to In the Room, where culture meets Hollywood. I'm Elisa Murray here with Ali Leroy, and this is a show where we break down the business, the strategy, and what really happens in that room where careers are built. You can like and subscribe. Click that button below. Follow us on In the Room Podcast on YouTube, In the Room _pod on TikTok and on Instagram. And if you have any questions, send them to askintheroompod@gmail.com.
Yeah, listen. All right, look, so this episode, we got some stories talking about literally who's trying to shape this culture from behind the curtain, who decides what matters, what stories get funded, what history gets remembered, and most important, who gets a shot.
Yeah, we'll talk about a fully AI generated feature film that we saw premiere at Cannes, and it was only made in 2 weeks. You got Byron Allen. He keeps making these aggressive media moves while legacy companies are scrambling to survive. And Hollywood just doesn't seem obsessed with creativity anymore. It seems obsessed with efficiency. So let's get into it. Fresh off the timeline, these are the daily. Let's talk Byron.
Yeah.
Byron is back at it, buying everything in sight. So we already discussed him buying BuzzFeed and the late night CBS slot, and now he is going after STARZ. And the move is more about buying stock. It's about ownership of the company. So he acquired a 10.7 stake for 25 mil. And this move made him one of the largest stockholders. Did you see his Breakfast Club interview about that?
Was it recent? I've seen him on there before, but if he did a new one, I didn't see it.
Yeah, so he was saying how his long-term goal was to eventually control the whole company. He wants it to stay public, but he was saying in his interview that there was like the sale kind of happened like low-key, no drama.
Yeah.
And then they found
Right.
out that he wanted to take control of the company eventually. So they realized his intentions. They tried to stop him. And he was firm. He was like, y'all won't. He will eventually have 51% stake in that company, and if need be, he will fire the whole board and take over the company. So then Charlemagne was asking, right? He was asking how's 50% playing all this because 50's brought a lot of content to this network and whatever, and so he's opting to keep 50 Cent neutral in these endeavors because he doesn't want him to have to pick sides between the current board.
So 50 Cent cannot become 51 Cent is what you're telling me.
I mean, once he has 51% at 50 Cent, we'll see who has the power over there.
50 Cent is going to be 49 Cent.
Listen, more power moves from Byron at the network where power was made. I want to know what he knows because I feel like these moves feel like they're back to back. Is there a bigger plan in place? Is there something that he's aware of that we're not aware of? If it feels like he's trying to own everything piece by piece.
It's what he's been doing the whole time. Look, Byron isn't chasing like cool brands. He's been assembling infrastructure the whole time. Broadcast cable, streaming, news, advertising, distribution. I mean, he's thinking like an old school mogul. This is all like television media real estate, right? He's looking at these pieces that the business is going like, these are underperforming or distressed, what they like to call assets. They're not making a profit. Byron is looking at it and he's going, oh, this is discounted infrastructure, right? You know how they take a Target and then turn it into a tire store? Right? This is what he's doing. He's like, you're selling the wrong thing and you're selling it the wrong way. Broadcast TV, linear TV is not dead. It's just overpriced. And he's looking at it like, I'm going to be the 21st century Sumner Redstone, Rupert Murdoch. This is what Robert Smith with BET, and I think even Oprah would own. This is probably the direction that they were headed in. But like, he's laying down real stakes and he's coming in like a G. So I ain't mad.
It feels like a long game strategy. Like it doesn't even feel like he's on one portion of the industry. It's like he wants the infrastructure across everything, whether it's broadcast cable, subscription, streaming, free streaming, late news, and it feels like he's
all of it.
A distressed media asset. Right now people want cash is king. If the value is lower, he's coming in, giving them the cash. He seems like he has overflowing bank accounts, and then it's just like, hey, buy this, and then buy in low, and then take it where he's going to take it. It feels like old school media mogul strategy.
It is. It's like you come in from the fringes. Byron's been doing this for a long time. He's been finding all these television spaces. He's been finding all these assets that aren't doing what the networks want him to do, that aren't doing what the distributors want him to do. And he's just replacing the content and making it into something that the wider audience is willing to watch without a lot of stress, without a lot of back and forth. And he sells those ads, and Byron just keeps stacking. He's going to end up running this whole town.
Listen, If you're looking for someone to adopt, I'm available. The
All right.
gatekeepers open the
Come
gate.
get Elisa, Byron.
Listen, okay, so Tyler
Listen.
Perry launched speaking of millions, 100 million expansion for his studio. He's all about training young black creatives, and he wants to create 2,000 jobs from this expansion. So it includes a new film academy, specifically for underprivileged youth, which I think is really cool, to learn a trade in film. He claims this is his investment in the next generation of filmmakers. And, you know, this is the kind of infrastructure that our communities have been talking about for years. We've been talking about with Tyler for years. We want him to open it up to other voices and things like that. And I don't know if this is exactly what this is, but you know, what do you think about this? Do you feel like this is going to open opportunity? Do you feel like these are, future Tyler Perry workers?
This ties closely. It's almost like I think he certainly has the, we keep talking about infrastructure. He certainly has a way to turn everything that he's built into something that can generate, train, and create, new talent. Not unlike what happens up at Sundance, right? Because at Sundance they got a huge compound, right? They bought out a mountainside, and they teach film and they teach television, and they let you interface with other directors and executives. Now the trouble is, it'll be interesting to see who he brings into the fold, because on the Tyler Perry creative side of it, it's not, you can't teach what he does, right? You can't teach somebody to write a script overnight. You can't teach everybody to direct it. You can't teach everybody to play all of the characters, right? It's a level of output. And it's also like Tyler came in, he didn't come in by the rules. Tyler came in knocking shit down like a bull in a china shop, right? Everything that he has is Tyler.
But he can teach the way, I mean, I don't know if it's a good thing or bad thing, that just to be determined. But the way he goes through, his production schedules are very different from most people in the game. He produces quick. Like, it's a very quick turnaround when it comes to when they're on set. They might have 90 pages. They might do that 90 pages in 4 days. I know. You can teach that.
I get, are we there yet? Right. I'm one of the only other people, me and Bruce Helford, are the only other people that even attempted that Tyler Perry 1090 model where you do 100 episodes in a year, right? I did it.
But how many pages are you doing in a day? Because they say his actors say that they're doing like 100 pages in it. Like, what did they did that one movie in like 3 days?
I mean, you can clock through, 10, 15, 20 pages in a day, depending on how fast you're going. I was shooting. But I'm saying I was shooting 3 episodes over 4 days.
4 days.
I was shooting 6 episodes over 2 weeks. I think Tyler shoots 6 episodes in an hour, but he's faster than that.
Well, maybe that's what they're going to learn. How to do
listen,
that quick,
it can be done. It can be done, but you're talking about a very unique set of skills. What I do think that he does have to offer is a building where he can bring in, all of the talent. I think there are people who would love to be in business with Tyler in that department. Mm-hmm. And again, these are going to be people who maybe understand more the nuts and bolts and actually how to play well with others, right? Like Tyler's used to running Tyler's shit. And when Tyler ain't getting what Tyler wants, Tyler takes his ball and goes back to his studio and goes, fuck it, I'll do it myself. Everybody can't do that, and you can't teach people that, right? So it'll be fascinating to see how he's bringing people in, what kind of community he builds around. But I think it's very promising. And like I said, it could be the next Sundance Labs.
I think that when you're dealing with underprivileged youth, you're giving them opportunity to learn a trade. You have the infrastructure, you have the studio, you have the team. These are people who maybe never saw anything like this up close. So even, encouraging someone to be a future gaffer, a future grip, a future, director, whatever it is that they get inspired to do because they're seeing someone. That
would be interesting.
It's just, we'll see. But when you say creating 2,000 jobs, I'm assuming that these are jobs within his studio. He's creating the future staff that'll come in and replace the current staff. Maybe. But
listen, I mean, creating 2,000 jobs, those jobs can be anything. Creating jobs and creating careers are two different things.
Very much
so. You can give a lot of people an opportunity to do something, and it's great to have a pipeline where they can convert that into something that's longer lasting. So that actually becomes the metric, right? I'm not just creating jobs. I'm not just creating opportunities. They're actually converting into concrete careers. and people can see a sustainable future after they leave, you know, whatever it is he has to offer. I hope that's how it works.
Let's see. He's not the only one. You got Malcolm D. Lee launched the Love and
Yeah.
Laughs, another new initiative for emerging comedy and romance filmmakers. So this is through his Black Male Productions. His company is also in partnership with Tribeca Studios and Universal. And so this is going to support emerging filmmakers that are passionate about telling stories, specifically in that comedy and romance genre, that rom-com genre rather. And the filmmakers selected will receive a $50,000 grant to produce a short film as a proof of concept, and then they will develop it into a full-length feature and get access to studio executives, and they get a nice little LA premiere in 2027. So that sounds really great. Of course, we would love to see more in that genre, and I think this is a great way that the gatekeepers are opening gates for young filmmakers.
Well, first of all, this is you know, we have three pieces of an equation right here, and I would love to see them really kind of come together. We talk about Power Rangers assembling because Byron is not a gatekeeper. Byron's trying to be the gate, right? Tyler is creating this infrastructure, and Malcolm is really all craft, right? He came up an entirely different path from Tyler. He came up on sets, watching it up close and personal, seeing what the grips do, seeing what the lighting department does, understanding hair, makeup, wardrobe, production design, right? He knows all of these pieces. This is just me. You know how black people always be like, such and such, you know, Chris Brown and Usher ought to get together and do. Tyler Perry and Malcolm D. Lee and Byron Allen are three things. Here's the creative, here's the production, here's the distribution. They're three prongs of the same fork. And what I'm looking at is this is the sort of thing that Malcolm could set up an entire shop inside of a Tyler Perry infrastructure. We ain't got to go no place to shoot the movie. We at the studio right now. Why I got to go pay somebody else to do a thing? And then it's like, call up Byron. Byron's got 500 stations. Like we can teach you how to make it. We can make it and we can put it on. Those are the three pieces.
Well,
that's just me sitting on the sidelines. You know, I'm not in that fight like that no more, but I'd love to see that happen.
call somebody. Call up one of those, whoever's number you got.
All I gotta do is watch the podcast. Send them one of these shorts that we do.
Yeah, because I don't have Tyler's number. But speaking of acting and everything like that, so have you ever got a residual check?
I have, but I am ashamed to say that I don't see them.
Okay.
Listen, man, I'm
Okay.
sorry. I'm sorry, everybody. You know, I get accused with this, but you know, I do have a business office, and so those materials go to the business office, and every now and again I get a little shitty residual check from something.
Okay.
So yes, I do get them, but I don't
them.
see them off very
I
often.
get them as well. So celebs like Michael Blackson and Jerry Ferrara were showing off Ferrara. We're showing off the residual checks. And it was a reminder for everyone that just because people are on TV doesn't mean that they're rich. And there's this perception of once you're on a show and that show is popular, you're set. So if you look at like Jerry, you know, from Entourage and like, you know, Power, certain shows that he's been on, you're assuming, oh, he's set. But like a lot of these residual checks are not what they used to be. They used to be the thing that helped actors survive between jobs back in that network TV era where shows had this long success, reruns and all stuff. But now you're in the streaming era, and I feel like you don't have the syndication deals, the real money, so you're not getting like meaningful checks. And then you have shows that are airing on Netflix and things like that. So it's like the
Right.
pay residual structures are a little bit smaller. So I mean, I know for me, there's two different types of residual checks I do. One is embarrassingly small, and one is actually very impressive. So, and I think it depends on where your show ends up. So the Insecures on Insecure, my residual checks typically range between 18 cents and maybe a whopping $9 for whatever reason.
Okay, just go over the hilltop and get yourself a cup of coffee.
Basically, a nice little Starbucks, you know, whenever I see that SAG envelope. But then once a year, though, because I was on Little America, which was an Apple TV show, and from what I hear, Apple TV, their pay structure is a lot different. Plus, that show had global distribution. My residual checks on average about $1,900, but I only see them once a year.
So first of all, you're comparing Apple to Issa Rae, right?
But that was
right. And
HBO.
I'm not blaming Issa Rae, so Issa, don't take this as a personal. But yeah, you're talking about this damn near $1 trillion valuated company versus Hooray and what they put out and where they put out. Listen, this is like a weird thing. I get actors wanting to kind of illuminate what the life is, but I know that regular people look at this and they'd be like, "Oh, you must have fucked your money up," and because regular people think you're rich. You on TV, they think you're rich. That's just what they think. Yeah. And what we're just trying to see is what you said. Like the syndication used to matter. It was 22 episode seasons. They were playing in reruns on network TV. Yeah. Ads were being sold against those reruns. But now you're talking about buyouts, shorter seasons, flat fees. The residuals are getting capped. Yeah.
It's different.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's just a different business model. And I guess if there's anything to learn from this for the new people who are mid-career actors, unfortunately, it's kind of starting to look like, a really great side hustle acting. And I'm not saying that you can't build a career, but all of the things that gave us the stability to be in show business, with unions and residuals and all of the ways that those payments and those earnings were managed, a lot of that has been destroyed by new media, new technology, new ideology, greedy people, and so, we just have choices to make now. Maybe SAG and AFTRA can defend you a little bit, but now that's why the branding era is here.
Yeah, that too. But that was also why it was a big thing. The major issue during the SAG strike was the residual. So they did negotiate some higher residual payouts. They did negotiate better pay for streaming. So we hope that we'll see some changes. But when I look at all my friends that are actors, and when I say actors, I would say working class, they work consistently. They have credits where they're recognizable. You've seen them on a few things consistently, but they're not nowhere near the first on the call sheet. Let's be real, right? They might be 10th or 11th on that call sheet. Yeah, some 8 and below. But they work consistently. Every single one of them, it doesn't matter how much they work, they all have some sort of job. And it's not like, oh, I go to an office and punch a clock. It's like, oh, maybe I'm selling, maybe I got Airbnbs, or maybe I'm selling some sort of service, or maybe I'm an influencer. There's something else that they do on a day to day. And I feel like that's just the common thing. Like there's not, I don't know if we're in that area anymore where you get your series regular and then you could just be set for your entire life. Because I also don't know any series regulars from back in the day that are still potentially set. I don't know if that, it depends on how the money is managed. I don't know. Maybe.
Well, like I said, and that's a whole other department, because one of the things that is true is that people do come into this business and they don't have a solid understanding of how to manage their finances in this work. And so that means that there should be a lot of modest living. You got to project how this one check is going to take you over the next 6 or 8 months. If you get 2 back to back, you may plan out how that's going to take you over the next 18. And so the ability and part of the skill set of being in show business is not just being a creative who knows how to manage opportunities and get on. The other part of it is being able to manage the behind the scenes and learning how to stay in the game so you can get on.
Exactly.
A lot of people fail at that. Exactly. They buy a car, they get a fancy ass apartment, fucking start flexing, shit that they, a chain or a purse or going on a trip or whatever the fuck they doing, right? And that shit costs money. And, you really do have to learn how to manage and maintain. The business is different. The economy is different. And so the way that you're going to get through this is going to require a new plan. Mm-hmm. And if you don't have that plan, you're going to be on there showing your 19-cent residual check,
a lot. Yeah. So an actress, her name escapes me right now, but I just saw she did an interview where she was like, if you got yourself a guest star, you need to be living like you only got a co-star. You got yourself a reoccurring, you need to be living like you only got a guest star. You always got to be living like you're getting paid that level below. So if you get yourself to series regular, you're still living like you're not yet that. And that's how you Keke Palmer says that too. She says that she lives very, modestly, but she lives like not beyond her means. So that's how you keep your money going. So, that's a life lesson. Yeah. We all don't have someone fancy in New York to manage our money. So the rest of us got to just figure it out on our own. Let's talk Quinta Brunson as Betty Boop. So Quinta is going to develop and star in a feature film adaptation of Betty Boop. I'm really excited about this. This project will bring one of the animation's most recognizable characters back to the big screen. She's going to do this with her company Fifth Chance and Mark Fleischer's. His studio is going to develop the project, but they say it's not going to be like a traditional retelling. It's going to explore the creation of the character through the eyes of the creator while examining the balance between this artistic vision and the commercial success of that animation. It's going to dive into like the bond between the animator and the character and stuff like that. So I'm very interested. I can see her playing it. I would love to see how it comes across. I just hope that there's not going to be pushback. Like we already talked about this with the whole Odyssey casting. You know, the minute a cartoon or a mythical character becomes black, it's a problem. They were all up in the comments, all up and through the comments about the Opeta thing, talking about what if we made Black Panther white? And I'm like, it's Black Panther. Black is in the title. Like, what y'all want? But we know with Betty Boop, it was inspired by Esther Jones, professionally known as Baby Esther, which is 1925.
Well, that's what they claim, right? That's not official.
They said her performance style is influenced it, but I mean, if you look at her, she looks like the character. And I mean, I never looked at Betty Boop and thought white. I'm sorry.
All right, so wait, stop the press. Slow down a little bit. You're all off on this Betty Boop, and you're saying you're excited. Well, how much did you know about Betty Boop before this happened? Because here's a lot of young people. I see this, like something comes up, and then everybody get on the internet, and then a day later, they all Betty Boop historians, and then they get on the internet and start telling Betty Boop is this, Betty Boop is that. Like, when did you get involved in this? When did you get interested?
I don't know if there's a date that I can say 7 years ago.
I want receipts.
But I feel like Betty Boop has always traditionally, to me, been known as a black character. I never knew her.
Well, all right, hold on. When did you first see? Like, I
remember Betty Boop from a child watching cartoons. Yeah.
Okay.
I feel like it's the same way Bugs Bunny has just always been around. I feel like you would see cartoons of her. I feel like you see
because
images of her.
Y'all people be acting like and I'm saying y'all people, you millennials. Every time I talk to y'all, it's like y'all think the world started yesterday and y'all didn't hear about it. A lot of them just found out Michael Jackson had brothers.
Like, I don't think Gen Z knows who Betty Boop is, but I think we know. I wouldn't say I'm super familiar with Baby Esther. I probably had to look her up and really look to see what these two people look like. But when I looked at Baby Esther, I'm like, okay, I'm looking at her performance style. I'm looking at how she's moving and how she wears her hair. And this is very similar to the character Betty Boop. And then if you look at Betty Boop, there's not one time where I thought that's going to be a blonde woman. That should be a blonde woman. That should be a white woman. She has curves. She got boobs. She got booty. Betty Boop is black. I'm sorry. I'm standing 10 toes.
All right. So I will say this. This is what I think is cool. I like it that Quinta is going in there and taking control of things about our history that we should be learning. This is kind of like, we heard about slavery. We heard about Malcolm X. We heard about Dr. King. We heard about Michael. And so this is more down that hidden figure street. Yeah. Who are the people that were in our culture that were doing significant things that weren't these incredibly popular figures? But, we've been seeing the effects and how they changed society or how they impacted the things that we watch or the entertainment that we have. So for Quinta to be doing this, I think that is great. But I'm also curious, do you think that it's a risk? Like, is this what she should be spending her currency on, right? Is the audience, you're curious, is the audience going to show up for this? Do they want to see it?
I think it's interesting because I don't recall ever seeing Quinta in a dramatic role, and I don't know if that's what this is going to be. But I also think this could be in that Green Book territory where it's like it is all about. I'm assuming the animator is white. I don't know. I have to do my history.
I hope she don't do.
I'm just saying, if the animator is white, if the animator is white and the whole film is about the retelling of through the eyes of the creator, then this could technically be a white man's story about drawing a black woman, which I don't know if we would like that. So I don't know how this is going to work. It's still, it depends on what route they go, because is it going to be a comedic thing? Like, is it going to be like the cartoon, which to me maybe falls back into her wheelhouse because she is a comedy person, or is this going to be some sort of, I don't know what the story
Are they going to be like, ooh, this is going to be like Abbott Elementary, except a cartoon
It
character.
Definitely shouldn't. It shouldn't be that. I don't think it should be that.
But people bring expectations to the table sometimes. They get upset when you don't do what they want you to do.
Yeah,
so
I think
I'm curious to see how this plays out.
I don't think this is going to be Abbott Elementary Spear or BuzzFeed Spear, which we know her for. So I feel like it's going to be something different. But I also think that she should branch out. I'm pretty sure she's very talented and has the abilities to branch out, beyond all of those things. So I mean, I'm just curious to see her do something dramatic, if this is even a dramatic.
I'm excited for her. I think she's one of the sharpest and brightest comedy creators, on the scene today, and well earned. So whatever it is she chooses to do, I'm always gonna, give it a shot right out the gate and see what she's up to, because I think she's great.
Right before my Philly sis, there's a rumor, and I don't know how true this is. So I'm saying that this may not be true, but people have told me from Philly that I used to go to a young performers theater camp back in the day in Philadelphia, and people have said that she used to go to this camp. Like, it was like all the little actors in Philly used to go to this camp or whatever. And so, like, YPTC, shout out Quinta if you did go to that.
Now, was there was there a height restriction at that school? Because y'all both little bitty. No. She about 3 feet tall and you about 3 feet 2.
Listen, there's a lot of talent that came out of that. Some people ended up on Broadway. If she did go there, Abbott Elementary, the sky's the limit.
You could play Betty Boop's sister.
I would love it. I would take the role gladly. Call my agent, please. I'm available. Okay, so let's go on to Is It Just Me? Or where we say things that no one else is going to say out loud. And let's talk about AI yet again. One of the first fully AI generated films called Hell Grind. It showcased at the Cannes Marketplace. And the creators claim that 95-minute film was made in 2 weeks with a tiny team and a fraction of the normal studio budget. So is it just me? Or are we watching human creativity become optional? So let's talk about the film. It's called Hell Grind. Took just 2 weeks to create, cost about $400,000 of which they say went towards the AI computer costs. And if you're looking at like Disney's Mandalorian that hit theaters the other weekend, that production budget is $166.5 million. So I'm understanding why they're like, I can, make a lot more money from the AI because I don't have to spend as much. They said the process to make it was more complex than just jotting off a couple notes to Chat GPT. It was created with Higgsfield AI, which we talked about before. And you can't just say, make me a 95-minute cool video. They have to input prompts into the tool, detailed specifications. Like, for example, give me a cine lens, 180-degree shutter motion blur, 3,000 words and like all these specifics they have to put in from scene to scene. And that's how they end up getting this. And all of that would result in about 15 seconds of footage for each prompt that they put in. And that's how they were able to generate this 95-minute film. So it's the first, they say it's one of the first AI films to demonstrate that it can sustain character consistency, the coherence of the world, and a narrative arc across the whole feature. So, I mean, we talked a lot about AI, and I know that right now.
Listen,
it's a thing.
I stay on talking about this because I just feel like, it's here, it's not going away. And here's the thing about audiences, right? It doesn't matter how small the audience is for something. They're always going to respond to things that speak to them, things that are done well, things that excite them or, pique their curiosity, even if how it's done is unusual. Like when South Park first showed up and the animation was real weird and they were like, what the fuck is this? Now 20 years later, it's one of the longest running animated shows ever. There was that movie Sin City that had the weird kind of digital black and white kind of thing going on. Right now they got Love, Death and Robots, which is all these vignettes, and it's using this hyper real, digital presentations of actors and characters and all of this. And people will say that those things ain't supposed to work. You're taking all the humanity out of it. But the audience will eventually adjust if the execution is there.
Right.
We care if things are done well. It don't make no difference what it is. First movies was shitty, right? And then they got good at it. That's going to happen with this.
Yeah, I think there's definitely space for AI animated films and alongside, human live action films. I think that what interests me is based off that price point. I don't see why all animated films don't go in this direction, just because why would you spend $166.5 million and from what I hear, The Mandalorian is not doing that well in the theaters. So you spent all that money and you may not get that money back, as opposed to spending $500,000 for an AI generated film, but then again, you say that and then it's like, oh, we're getting rid of animators and we're getting rid of creators. I don't know. I feel like if you're smart, you find a way to offset your costs by doing AI films in addition to these live action or these animated films, so it offsets some of these big spends.
You have to think in these terms too.
That you're making.
So when you're talking about the Mandalorian, that's literally the most unfair comparison in the world because of what you just said. It's $150 million budget versus $500,000. Not only that, you're also talking about a 50-year infrastructure of merchandising, promotion, events. They got rides. They got fucking Star Wars plane. They got all this stuff. So it's so baked into the culture that they can sell the Mandalorian and all of the ancillary assets, as you were, all of those films, all of those shows, all of those versions. At some point, that's going to come in the world's biggest box set, and it's going to cost you like $1 billion. You can get everything that was ever in Star Wars. And when you're dealing with something little like whatever's happening with this movie, this may be an exciting way for newer creatives, for people who are budget conscious, for the next Jason Blum to come in and make something at a price point that they can market to an audience that's hungry for it, that can be satisfied by what that thing can produce. But the big ticket experience of what Star Wars is, and the actual stars themselves, and the music and all of those things, these aren't one-to-one. That experience, people are always going to want that big experience, but they also appreciate the artistry or the excitement of something that's new and dangerous. Sidebar, that new movie Obsession. I haven't seen it yet, but I'm going to see it. It costs like $1 million. And I think it's sold for like $14 million to a distributor. And right now it's at about $75 million, right? Because the kid who did it, yes, and box office like $75 million. And the guy spent $1 million. He edited. He was he used to shoot short form stuff or whatever. So he understood how to cut corners, how to contain the prices. He was able to edit himself, shoot it himself, do all of these things. And so, it's like a Blair Witch Project. So even if it's AI in this Higgs field and whatever else they come up with, a comedy, a drama, a love story, that shit's going to work. Somebody's going to figure it out. And it may not replace Tom Cruise, but someplace down the lower tier, it's going to be very profitable and very lucrative for people who can function in that space.
Yeah, I agree. Moving on to the table read, where we get an industry the notes it didn't ask for. And let's talk Country Wayne. Comedian Country Wayne says Hollywood wants his vertical drama blueprint, but won't pay his $500 million price tag. So the script for the week is Country Wayne versus Hollywood. So Country Wayne, we all know, has made vertical microdramas for a long time. He says he has the recipe, and everybody's trying to do it now, and they want to know how he's been able to grow his audience, but they think he's asking for too much, So he noted that a lot of major entertainment companies are now mimicking his format that he pioneered, and he's holding on to the steep valuation of his recipe because he feels like, if I tell you my secret, it's worth $500 million. And he did show the analytics for his YouTube page, which he claims is at 1.4 billion views in less than a month. 126 million viewers are engaging in his content. And then he broke down on this interview how he produces this type of engagement. He does about 1,200 videos a month. He has a team of 14 producers. They turn about 60 to 150 videos a day. He has a posting schedule. 3 assistants post the content, averaging 40 videos a day. He doesn't even get a chance to view half the content he posts. He don't even know what's up there half the time. And so, it's like, it's a machine. It's a machine that he's been able to do. And he has like these 14 producers that he trusts them to represent his brand and represent his page in a way. But I think this is interesting. Look, whether you want to believe the analytics or not, it says what it says. 1.4 billion views is a lot. We're over here, struggling to get to thousands. Tommy, I already know this is what well worth the money. And everybody wants to know. Everyone is turning out into this vertical mainstream now. And he says he's been doing this for a long time, and he's been making money from it from a long time. And he has the secret sauce.
Listen, well, first of all, I think he's absolutely right. He should ask for as much money as he can think of to ask. Because here's the thing. Whatever amount of money they're actually willing to pay is going to be less than they had available to give him. So he should ask for much more than he thinks they would ever give him. So maybe they can come down to what the shit is actually worth. And I'm not disputing his numbers, but he has created something of immense value. He's done it on his own. And, you know, he's not unlike Tyler Perry, but on the internet, but he's also merging that into a little bit more like Chuck Lorre or Taylor Sheridan. Like, he's got this whole fucking audience on lock. They show up for Country Wayne and Country Wayne adjacent shit, right? They like it. They enjoy it. They've been doing it for a while, and he's quietly been building. And he's doing something that a lot of the earlier talent that popped out of, you know, socials, you know, they've had good careers. I'm talking about King Batch, Spoken Reasons, Brittany Ferlin, Pretty V. You know, they're all doing good work. But he's doing something that they didn't do, which is he's actually building the company and he's building the structure around what he does and what he can keep doing. So even if Hollywood don't fuck with him, which he don't need them to, right? He can keep doing this forever. He's like Ernest, right? Ernest goes to camp, Ernest goes bowling, Ernest at church, Ernest. Country Wayne could easily do that, never leave where the fuck he is. He ain't got to play with them. He don't need them. So if they want to bring him into the fold, pay me.
Yeah, but I also feel like with that infrastructure he set up, whether he's in the videos or not, because he says sometimes it's other people in the videos that are featured as well. It's still a way to capitalize off whatever content is going through that page of yours, and I think it's really smart. I think it's really smart. He says he's been doing it for a long time.
But this is the thing we talked about earlier, too, because we talk about Byron Allen buying BuzzFeed and thinking about turning content that's currently appearing on social media, you know, and there's stacks and stacks and stacks and stacks of clips and shorts and all of these things. So once again, if Byron is getting into the distribution space, if he starts a fast channel and he partners up with Country Wayne, right? And this is what I'm saying. Like, we're putting flags in the ground on these incredibly important pillars of business. And again, Country Wayne doesn't need to meld into what the Hollywood system is. They're coming after him because they know what it can do.
Yeah.
That's the thing. They want to buy it because they want to control it, right? They'll fuck it up because they can't speak to his audience the way that he speaks to his audience. Same thing with Tyler. They can't speak to his audience the way that he speaks to his audience, and they're very distrustful when somebody else comes in, like what would happen with BET. Once Bob Smith sold it, and then it started changing hands, and then Viacom got involved, and now that shit's a thumbnail on Paramount Plus. Yeah. That's not going to happen with Country Wayne.
Apparently.
You're right. And we saw the shit. We saw y'all knock the legs out from under it, and then chip away at that shit year by year by year by year by year, and then it became this low-cost house for Tyler Perry to do all the work that he was doing. And that's not an insult to Tyler Perry. That's just saying he took advantage of a model that was available to be taken advantage of. But the people who were building the structures, the economic plans that made that a reality, they want to do that with Country Wayne. They want to take everything that he has, find a way to siphon out all of the worth, and leave him with a shell of what he built. And I think that he's smart, that if you're going to do that, motherfucker, pay me $750 up front. And then I don't have to get mad. Then I can go mind my business and go do something else, and whatever the next platform is, I can go get on that. But yeah, they're not about to fuck him out his money. He's too smart. I'm not, man. Go Country Wayne.
Shout out to Country Wayne. So you got any advice for us, Ali's Action Pack? Because surviving this industry just needs a strategy.
I mean, this is a very different space right now that we're in. And what we're seeing right now is how people are finding ways to control aspects of the business that they do. And I think that if you can get a handle on one solid piece of business that you have, then maybe you can go and partner up with somebody that does something else well. And I think these are the ways, and actually I think this is a time when we maybe actually start having some of these collaborations, economic business models that promote what we want to do as a culture, that promote what we want to do in the business, and promote what we want to do in terms of the content.
Short and sweet. Okay. What are we watching?
Oh, you was expecting me to keep talking, weren't you?
I guess
I'm learning. I'm trying to, shrink it down a little bit. Right. I don't want to be going on and on and on and on, because you be looking at me funny.
Praise
so,
God. Okay. What are we watching? I know what I'm watching.
Back it up a little bit.
Yes, we appreciate short and sweet. I mean, I just binged Nemesis, crime thriller, Courtney Kemp. We love it. Cat and mouse battle based in Los Angeles between an obsessed LAPD detective and a criminal mastermind. And we know Courtney from her work on Power and the shows that she's done at STARZ. The reason why, I mean, I was always going to catch it because I auditioned for the show and I like to watch shows that I didn't get because I like to see like who got it, like, you know. So I was always going to watch it. Yeah. But what I kept hearing about the character played by Matthew Law. And I just kept hearing on social media on threads like, "Oh, I hate his acting," and "Oh, it's to be acting."
Okay, all right. So hold on, you got to slow down a little bit because I actually turned it on, and I was gonna watch it, and I started watching it. I got tired, but there was a dark skinned guy and a light skinned guy. Which one is Matthew Law?
Is the dark skinned guy. Matthew Law is the light.
Oh, okay, yeah, I know him. What's his name? Is it Elon?
Elon Noel is the dark.
Elon Noel. All right, I know him. He was Insecure, right?
Insecure, yeah. Matthew Law, Abbott Elementary, something we know him from.
He was the villain on Insecure.
No, he wasn't. He was the good guy on Insecure. Well, he was the one that made her cheat, I guess. But no, we liked him. We liked him on Insecure.
Well, y'all didn't blame him for that.
We no, I actually
cheated on you.
He did him dirty. Fault. Well, no, I thought that she did him to kind of dirty a little bit. I thought he would have been good with her, but like, you know, we wanted her with Lawrence, but that's neither here nor there. But no,
she did him dirty because that was his fault.
No, I just, you know, let's not get into it. But on this show,
back to Nemesis.
I feel like I really enjoyed the concept. Right? Let's get. But some of the criticism is
what's the concept?
The concept is you have Elon Noel is running this criminal enterprise, a four-man heist group, and they're doing these very complex heists all around LA. And then you have Matthew Law, who is detective, who is very determined to put this crew in jail, even though nobody really believes that there's a connection because they're so good that they don't leave a lot of traces when it comes to these.
Okay. So just so you right now, this sounds like Heat or The Town, and I'm excited because I love a good heist movie with a crew.
Yes, it's great. It has great concepts. What people don't like, people did not like. I saw a lot of LA natives criticizing the LA accents, criticizing the LA, like there was a lot of little drops that they did. Like there was one moment
LA
where they were
accent,
like, like the lack thereof. There was a lot of like extra emphasis. You had what's his name, Quincy Isaiah from he played basketball player. He played Magic Johnson. Quincy Isaiah. He played one of the characters.
Is that his name?
It's his real name, yeah. And he played one of the characters in there who was a Crip. So, you know, every other sentence was, "Cuh, yeah, cuh, oh my, the Clippers messing up my parlay, cuh." You know, so there's a lot of that. So, you know, people were criticizing that. You know, they were like, they had them dressed in like full Lakers, full Clippers.
But I would like to say this much. I would like to say, shout out to the Crips and the Bloods, that I think that it's wonderful that we have come to a place in filmdom when we can casually introduce characters and nobody gets killed. Like they're like, that wasn't that good. And that's the whole complaint. It was they don't roll up on the set.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't bother me. It didn't bother me, but I understand if you're an LA native, how there was a couple Kendrick Lamar references. There was one moment they were like, "Yeah, turn that TV off," in reference to like shutting someone up, and people. But to be fair, okay.
So the thing about it is, you from Philly, I'm from Chicago, and Hollywood does a fantastic job of not giving a fuck what the people who are from a place sound like, look like, what they do. They just say, "This guy's from Chicago," and then they do some entirely un-Chicago shit. And to be fair, as much as I love Ice-T, that's probably what New Yorkers were saying about Ice-T when he was in New Jack City. They were like, "Who this California motherfucker coming up talking about he's from," right? It just happens all the time. I mean, if a story's well told, we just got to have a little bit of
it didn't bother me, right? I'm not a Cali native, but that was one of the things I saw. What bothered people the most was Matthew Law's character. And so my theory is, I think that he went into this character, and this character is very Training Day-esque. Not necessarily a dirty cop like Denzel, but definitely a cop that does not follow the rules and is so determined to get this crew that he puts his family at risk. He is at risk.
Well, that's like that's also like The Shield. Did you ever watch The Shield?
I don't know. No, I didn't.
The Shield was a number of years back, and same thing, like a rogue cop out there willing to do anything.
Yeah, so it sounds like an exciting show. But it was annoying. he was annoying, and I think that that was the issue. I think that when you think of Courtney Kemp shows, power and these things, they typically make the bad guy the likable character. If you think of Ghost, he was this likable character. You wanted the bad guy to win, right? And I feel like in this case, you want Elon's character, which is Coltrane's Wilder, to win. You know, he's very like Ghost-like. He's that guy that's doing crime, but really just wants to get out. He just wants to get out and go clean and have a baby with his wife. And so we all are rooting for that. And then you got Matthew Law that is just not letting him get this one last job done because he's just annoyingly trying to get him to like just follow them off, and it just pisses people off.
All right,
it just pisses people off.
So let me tell you something. So here's the fun thing about shows. Even if y'all are mad, that's great, and I'll tell you why. Because it means you care. Right? And so when a character makes you so mad because they didn't do this or they won't do that, but you keep watching, that's like, shout out to Courtney because she knows how to push y'all fucking buttons. And y'all in there arguing the whole time, wishing he would be something else, but won't stop staring. That's a fucking genius gangsta ass move right there.
And that's what I was arguing back and forth with people because I'm like, do you feel like his acting is bad, or are you just not a fan of the character he's playing? Because if the character is something that is getting this sort of emotional reaction out of you that you're writing paragraphs back and forth with me on threads, then he did a good fucking job.
Like you know, I'm going old school, but there was this character on season 3 of The Wire, and that was the season where they were at the docks, and there was this little scrawny white guy character, and literally this was a character that did everything wrong. Like literally everything that he could do, he chose this decision that pisses everybody off and fucked up people's lives. And you'd be watching the whole time wanting to punch him in the damn throat. And yet and still, we watched the whole season. So if she's pushing buttons like that, you know, that might be that craft that's sneaking up on you.
But like you turned it on and then you turned it off. Why? Because you're old and you couldn't get through it, or was it something?
Yeah, because I have a lot of input. I spend a lot of time taking things in. So, you know, it's like if I turn something on at 7:30 or 8 o'clock, I might not see it for the next 2 months.
I got you. Yeah, I would love to hear your point of view. I mean, did I think that there was some one note? I thought that it was I did think that there could have been a little bit more nuance to the character. I did think that sometimes it felt like, oh my gosh, enough. But I'm like, maybe that's how he was directed. Maybe that was the point of that character, was to give us such a visceral reaction to the character, which is exactly what it did. You know, maybe that character was supposed to be over the top. But when I think of like if he was trying to do his Training Day, Denzel, bad cop, I'm like, I'm out here doing my big one, which I think is maybe what his inspiration could have been. I can see why people maybe didn't like it, because you know Denzel's Denzel, so when you see someone trying to like emulate that in any way, it's not going to feel like Denzel, you know. But it didn't take me out of the movie. I was out of the film, of the series. I was able to watch all 8 of those episodes. I was able to enjoy it, and I ended it thinking I want more. Like I am ready for season 2 already. I'm ready to go. Write it up, Courtney. Let's go. Let's bring it on.
Well, but see, here's the other thing too, and it's like my dear late friend Bernie Mac used to call him the microwave generation, and it's like people want everything fast. They want everything fast, and sometimes. And it used to be like this, you know, you didn't roll out all 8 episodes or 10 episodes at once and people would binge. It would take time for you to digest, take something in, think about it. It gave you more time even to create and to build. So this is not an indictment of the process, but in a lot of ways, it makes it difficult sometimes to create the same sort of engagement under the sets of circumstances that we're dealing with. But the fact that she's got a season 2 out of him, I'm excited about that. You're saying that whatever those little shifts are, well, that's what TV is about. The second season comes around and you start tweaking. You get shit a little right. It's like, okay, let's fix this. Let's tweak that. That's why you have 5 seasons. If you looked, and this is not the same, but if you looked at season 1 of The Simpsons, that shit like it was drawn by a 3-year-old on a napkin in a restaurant, right? It took time to become the thing that you love and that you revere. And so that's what's happened with a lot of these shows. Some of them get out the gate good and then they fall off. Others come out the gate slow and then they build into something, right? We didn't know that Power was going to turn into an 80 show universe. She's fucking Taylor Sheridan out here, Courtney Kemp, right? And I think she deserves a shout for that. Like, she's low key next to Shonda. It's fucking Courtney Kemp. She's the one that's actually building out a whole universe of shit inside of a world. She's the closest metric I can think of to what Taylor Sheridan is doing. And it bothers me, actually, that she doesn't get more praise for that. because what she's doing is substantial, is significant, it's long running, it's got cultural impact, it's making motherfuckers money. She saved the goddamn network. But how come Courtney Kemp ain't got no fucking ranch?
You know what I think?
Right? And I'm not saying that she doesn't, but she
the
should.
forward facing, and I don't know if this is her choice or not, but like if you know, you know. But I feel like because 50 is the forward facing face, that a lot of those shows he gets like this credit for, you know, and I'm not saying that he doesn't have some creative input and everything like that. I'm sure he does, right? But I think that he's the bigger personality, he's the bigger, you know, iconic name. So I feel like you tend to associate those shows with them, and you know, she's quietly doing her thing. Listen, girls run the world. Catch up. Okay.
Well, she at least runs that world.
She runs that STARZ world. So what were you watching?
Okay, well, I did what I was supposed to do. I went out to the theater, to the actual movie theater, and sat in there with some, and I saw I Love Boosters.
Okay, love it. Can you tell me about it without spoiling it for me, because I'm planning to go see it?
Yes. Well, it's interesting. So here's the most important thing. This is a Boots Riley film, right? I'm going to say it again. It's a Boots Riley film. So if you don't know what a Boots Riley film is, you might start out, you know, go back and watch Sorry to Bother You. What's it called? Sorry to Bother You. Yeah, go back and watch that, right? And then just kind of, you know, let that be, you know, your foundation for going into I Love Boosters, because it's like it's this incredible fucking visual spectacle. Like the colors that he chooses, I think the casting in it is fucking amazing. Right, he's got Keke Palmer, he got Taylor Page, he's got Naomi Ackie. Mm-hmm. Oh man! And this little trio of girls that they play is wonderful. The casting is fresh. I haven't seen this group of women. You know, and these are actors, right? This isn't like, you know, three girls who were singers or whatever, and they put them in a thing. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. I'm just saying that he's brought these great, incredible actors together. He's got Keith Stanfield in there, you know, and a couple of Will Poulter, I think, has got an incredible role. Demi Moore is in that. So it's incredibly cast, very well acted. It's absurd. The film is crazy, but the story is actually really simple. A lot of people are so dazzled and confused by how it's executed, right? Just some of the sequences are really crazy. There's a wild one that you're probably going to be hearing about with Keith Stanfield that everybody's talking about. That's nuts. And, you know, just some over-the-top visual kind of gags. But Keke Palmer is a really incredibly grounding presence, right? She has this ability to move between things like Nope and The Burbs, which is on Peacock right now. And then she had the other joint, One of Them Days, and now she's got this. And somehow she's consistent, grounded, and believable in all of those spaces. So I'm really excited for her in this. And I think that if you have a broad sensibility, or if you're just curious, if you want to try something new, black people always want something that's original until some original shit shows up, and then they go, what the fuck is this? So don't do that with this movie, right? And a lot of people also show up and they think this is a Keke Palmer movie, and they want to see something that they think is like going to be like One of Them Days. This is not that. And so here's my question to you. When you're seeing the marketing for it, do you get a sense of what it's about? Do you know what you're in for? Or are you just like, oh, this looks like a cool movie about boosters? I like boosters. Boosters are cool.
Well, I'm familiar with Boots Riley, because, I mean, I saw Sorry to Bother You at Sundance. I met him at Sundance. He's amazing. So I already knew his sort of absurd, you know, super realism type of vibe. So when I see a movie of his, I assume that that's what I'm going to see. So I knew it wasn't going to be something normal. But also, like, the whole idea of boosting, like, you know, all of us, you know, like to buy our bags discounted, right? You know, whatever else it is, dupes and things like that. So it's like, I think it's an interesting concept. You're adding a director I already, you know, like a lot, and then a concept, and then a bunch of people. I love everything. Look, anytime Boots and Lakeith get together, I think it's going to be great fun. Add Keke into that. I love everything she does. So, I mean, it had all the ingredients to excite me.
But I will say this, the thing about the boosters aspect of it, it's like, that's a great catchy title. You know, the graphics, it's so much shit about
beautiful.
This movie.
Like the colors, cool. Eye-catching.
Oh,
the style.
Fucking fantastic.
Yeah.
But aside from that, the thing is that Boots is anti-capitalist. So this is actually this great story about fast fashion, capitalism, how that destroys, the culture that we're in, and also culture vultures. Like, who comes in and gets credit for the shit that the culture creates, and how do they exploit it? What does that look like? So he's just rendered this really kind of simple but important idea, something that I think that all of the black people could support, into this world that's just fucking wild lands. And I'm going to say this. I think as a black audience, it's not, you don't have to like this movie, right? But because you don't like the movie or you don't enjoy it, doesn't mean it's not good. Mm-hmm. So I don't like it when people come on and go, I love Boosters with trash. It wasn't trash. You just didn't get it. You just don't like it. That's okay. That's fine. We ain't all got to like everything.
That's the
but because it wasn't, it wasn't one of them days, don't mean it ain't shit.
Right.
Right? So, and the other thing is, like, sometimes it might take you a couple of passes. Sometimes you got to sit down to somebody that did like it and ask them, well, what you like about it?
Yeah, because I like a movie you talk about. Like, I like a movie that has symbolism in it, and I can find the deeper I got to go on Reddit and look at it like a whole
It gives you something to do.
Like
I'll put it like this. You know how people be dissecting Kendrick Lamar lyrics and shit? Well, you might have to go do that with Boots, exactly. Right? Right? It's just as deep. It's just as significant. He's doing shit that's just as cool, right? And he's got all these little Easter eggs in there and the writing. Like, there's a lot to digest. And if you go see it and you see it and you see it again, it becomes much richer. And that's the thing about great artists, and that's the thing about great works of art, is that typically they are not digestible. You don't necessarily understand them, or they may even repulse you when you first encounter them, right? But that's because it excited something in you and you're responding to something. I'd rather that than some shit that I could just turn on and leave on without paying too much attention to it. And then when it went off, I kind of got it. It was fine. I didn't really care. And now I'm just on the, clicking on the Byron's YouTube station and seeing whatever it is he put on.
Yeah, it's like that scroll TV. Like you put it on, but you're scrolling while you have it on. But I'm excited to see it. I think I'm going to try to catch it this weekend. So thank you for not spoiling it for me. And I want you to catch Nemesis, because I actually think you would enjoy it.
I'm gonna watch
Nemesis. You could try to get through it.
I gotta go see.
Gabriel Dennis is in it as also.
I gotta see Is God Is. That's.
I want to see Is God Is as well. It looks so good. I think I keep hearing that this is an amazing role for Vivica. These two new actresses I've never seen before, so. I mean, I might have to do a double feature this weekend and just go from one movie to
exciting times, man. Some good stuff out there. Y'all should be watching this.
Exactly. Black people listen to movies, y'all. So thank you. That was it for In the Room. Until next time, will you join us in the room? Like and subscribe. Hit that button below. In the Room podcast. And you can catch us on Twitter. Not Twitter, TikTok and Instagram. My goodness.
Something.
In the Room _pod. And then send your questions to askintheRoompod@gmail.com. And always meet us in the comments. We'll definitely talk back at you. And that's it for this week.